Todd, I have to ask you, we're coming in the news off of hearing President Trump last night talk about the appeal and replacement of Obamacare. This is something you've been working on as a healthcare expert. What does this mean for the private equity industry?
It is. Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. And who's very generous. But, we have spent a lot of time in healthcare. That's been my day job was one of the co-heads of the healthcare investment activities at TPG. And we spent a lot of time tracking the regulatory change. The real story in healthcare, though, has been that the majority of the changes happen below the surface. The incredible rate of physician employment, the shift in the cost to the employee. All these things have been seismic changes in healthcare. More change over the last 5 years than probably the previous 4 or 5 decades. For us, it's created a lot of opportunity. If you can be in way of volume, if you can improve the cost efficiency of healthcare services, you can make great investments, create great companies. We've invested in about 11 companies in the last 2 funds, and these are companies we tracked for years, built over years, and we've had 6 strategic exits to strategic buyers over the last 3 or 4 years. And candidly, if you can get the better mousetrap right in a time of dislocation and change, you can benefit. As to what is around the corner, I think there's going to be continued change. I think there's really a lack of clarity right now in terms of what will come out of Washington. But I think it'll be interesting times for healthcare investors.
But more investments to come, you think?
More investments to come, absolutely.
Good. Well, one of the big themes here is that we're in a world awash with money. Record levels being raised for private equity funds. I got to think it's hard to stand out in a world like this. How do you do it? What's the pitch?
Well, I appreciate it. That's absolutely true. I've been hearing about too much dry powder for at least the last 20 years of my career, but it's true. And it's actually even more true today because in some respects, we're returning capital in TPG Capital. We're investing at the pace that we've planned, and we're returning capital at almost 3 times that pace. As a result, there's a lot of capital, and people want their allocations in private equity. What we need to do, and what all the LPs and a lot of our most important partners are here, and I have talked about, is really to stick to our knitting and stick to our strategy. For us, it's pretty clear. We invest very heavily in our sector teams. We spend years thinking about not trends, which everybody identifies, but the themes, the investable themes within the sectors that we can deploy resources against, that we can create an ecosystem around. Not only find opportunities that are differentiated, oftentimes actually, even in this world, proprietary, semi-proprietary, but then companies that we can grow once we own those companies. So I think of us as long-term, sector-driven investors. I think of us as growth investors. I think that we spend those years looking for the company, looking for the management team, and once we own that business, we're a strategic investor, and we're going to keep growing it until we create something that's really special.
Does deal-making get harder with all that money out there?
I think it does, but I think what it really speaks to is you just have to stick to what you're good at. So in this world, there's a constant tension between what's interesting and what's actionable. The actionable are the investment bank company, intermediated company that goes to 10 or 12 of your closest friends. You get a chaperone dinner and a couple hours of management. We've found we're not very good at the actionable without angles or without a perspective. We'll spend the time on the interesting, even if we have to put 50 long leads in the water to get 2 over 5 or 10 years that end up turning into IMS, Quintiles, SCA, some of the deals that I've been involved with. And for us, it's worth that payoff. And I think actually in an environment like this, it's all the more important that you figure out what your strategy is, you build your ecosystem, you invest in your ecosystem, and you curate that ecosystem, and then you take your time, find the things where you have a differentiated angle, and you go. And frankly, the deals that we've filled out our portfolio with over the last couple of years have been exactly consistent with what we've tried to do, even as the world's gotten more competitive in a lot of respects.
One area where it's been especially competitive is technology. 7 of the 10 biggest deals last year were in tech. It's a space you've played in.
Yes.
Can you continue to be competitive given all the money that's there? Chasing after big tech deals. You got Snap going public this week.
Yes.
What's the feel there?
I think we can be very competitive. We have an excellent team there. And in fact, a lot of our activity recently has been there. So if you think about technology, you have to go to the sub-segments. Just thinking about, for example, cybersecurity. The 2 crimes that people fear the most are their identity being stolen, their computers being hacked. This is an area that's obviously very important, and it's becoming more top of mind. We have been focused on that for years. We've done a series of smaller investments, Tanium, a series of smaller investments through our growth fund that have helped us understand what the landscape is. And after years of knocking on the door, we have now taken McAfee in partnership with the parent company, Intel, what was essentially a proprietary dialogue. And we and Intel are totally convinced that we can take it to the next level. We have the ecosystem for it. We have a specific plan. It wasn't a competitive process. It's, again, the importance of really focusing ahead of time. Content, media, CAA, our investments in CAA, ultimately our investments in Cirque du Soleil. These are all, again, the results of years of working in what we think of as different segments of technology where we can have a differentiated approach, differentiated angles.